All right, folks, welcome to tonight's show and share presentation at Knox Makers. Anybody's first time to Knox Makers? Anybody? No? Everybody's been back. Well, great. Then you all know that Tuesday nights are our opportunity to show off what we're working on, what we've completed, what we're stuck on, what we failed at. We welcome all types of projects. Just got a few names on our list tonight, so why don't we start with Thea, who's going to show some smocking.
So a couple of months ago, I showed the dress when I talked about recreating the pattern off of just a picture on Pinterest. But I needed something else to go with it. And as we were building up to our smocking class, I brought in the bonnet, which is really just a rectangle that you gathered in the back. And I've never actually tried smocking clothing. So I made a diaper cover to go with the dress. So, put it here. It's a very simple, it's just, you get interlocking hearts on the top, a diamond in the middle. So, it turned out surprisingly well. And it's a very simple pattern. If anybody wants to try it, there's only 2 seams, and then you put the elastic in the legs. So, I will pass it around. Any questions?
Smocking is the act of folding and putting elastic in the fabric.
You gather the fabric by pleating it, and the smocking is the embroidery on top that holds it in place. Brian?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask my eyesight. Was that pleated prior to the smocking?
Yes. Yeah, you pleat it and then you smock in the top half of the pleat, which keeps it gathered together.
Thank you for that. Up next, James going to show In Move. Coming in from the back with several large objects.
So, this project is an open source one that I followed a good number of years back. As mentioned before, I'm a transplant. I'm finally getting all my stuff out of my moving boxes. So I figured I'd show this off. InMove is a fully 3D printed life-size Android project created by Gail Levine. This is my build from many years ago when it was in a bit more better shape. This black one is one that I made out of PLA, and the biggest mistake that I had with this project was making this out of PLA. You can't see it, probably from the audience, but all these pieces have been warped because back in Texas, I left this in my car on a summer day. And under its own weight, it completely deformed and is essentially junk at this point. So I went ahead and started reprinting it out of ABS years ago. This was a very fun project to work on at the time. I learned a lot about servos in the process. It does use these quarter mega scale servos that are about $40 each. That you have to modify in order to work for a lot of these, convert them into continuous rotation. Let's see, I do have a video clip of him running. So this is a open source project. They have some software with it called My Robot Lab, and it's able to do voice recognition. You don't hear the audio, but you have me screaming in the background, "Move arm," because the voice recognition wasn't working. It catches curse words a lot better than the instructions. So if you notice, there's an emergency stop button in the bottom left corner. That's because at one point I actually got my hand caught in the mechanism, and I couldn't get it out until I could get to the extension cord to unplug it. So I put in emergency stop so I didn't have that accident again. I'm hoping to try and touch this project again in the near future. This is what the maker of it, when he made his, looks like as a finished product. They They do have legs now, but it's not walkable. It's more just on a little stand and has legs for completing the humanoid aesthetic. But the head moves, the arms are fully articulated, the fingers move. I did bring here the 4-arm servo board for controlling each of the fingers. I am missing one of the servos, but each one of these has a little disc with string, and it just kind of does the little project that a lot of school kids end up doing where they have the little string robot hand. So it works a lot like that, where it just pulls a string one way or another to extend or release the finger. But yeah, that is kind of what I wanted to show on this. Oh yeah, and another thing is it does have an Xbox Connect built into it. One of the things that they like to show off when they show it off at spaces is gesture recognition, that you can stand in front of it and pose and it will mimic the poses. Any questions?
What's the Connect end up plugging into?
So this does have to run on a dedicated laptop hidden in the background. It ends up running on 2 Arduino Megas with adapter boards, and it does need like 10 amps of 12-volt power to power all the servos that are in it.
So, if that's known for how inaccurate they are, how do you deal with that?
I don't know. I never quite got it to work. But for the most part, it doesn't need high accuracy. We're not using it for 3D scanning. We're just trying to generally recognize a person's pose.
So other than move arm and mimic, what else can you do?
So you can set up a series of pre-programmed sequences. It can talk. I never quite got that far along in the project, but you can. Well, 7 years ago, ChatGPT wasn't as good as it was now, so you could probably whip that in somehow if you knew what you're doing. But yeah, one of the things about this is meant to be made on a 3D printer that's about 5-inch by 5-inch by 5-inch. So one of the big things of this is it's all made of smaller pieces that intersect together, and these are all press fits, so they end up using dovetails for everything. So it's a good 3D printing challenge. When I first made this, and the second time I made this, I actually made this as a bit of a community thing with my makerspace back in San Antonio, where a bunch of people we had a Google spreadsheet listing all the parts that needed to be printed, and everyone would take a part and print it and try and do it as a group, because there are hundreds of parts that need to be printed, and each one's going to take at least 4 or 5 hours each. So, yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Last name I have on my list is Sue, showing bag.
Some of you who have been around for a while may recognize this as a rerun of the bag. And that's because I have my photos have a service where they will give you all the photos that were taken on this day in all years prior. So this one popped up, and I thought, you know what, that is still relevant today. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, my son growing up loved Felix the cat. Now for those of you who are younger and may not know who Felix the cat is or was, it was a stuffed cat. It was a cartoon character, and he had his magic bag of tricks. So as my son and his wife were expecting, I thought, what better than to make a diaper bag a magic bag of tricks? Yeah. So this one is my prototype. You see me carrying it around. It's sort of like a Mary Poppins bag. On the top, it just opens up. But then to source the fabric, yeah, that's where I ran into problems. I did find a place that would print the fabric for me, and they said they had it, and when I got it, it was this pale yellow. That was not going to do for me. So I made my own fabric. You can get the feel for it here. And I did it using the heat press and the silhouettes. With the silhouette, I cut out the squares, or the X's and the circles. I used the heat press to then press it onto the fabric. I now had my fabric. With the embroidery machine, I was able to make the patch. With that sewing machine, it wasn't as sophisticated as the one we have now, so each of those letters I had to twist as I went around the circle. The new one, you can just say, give me an arch, right? Yeah, so these are a couple of the things that can be done in the fiber arts area. I think the embroidery authorization classes are sold out, but there is a class coming up for the sublimation printing. With that class, you learn the heat press. It's mostly to authorize you on the heat press. And you too can make a bag or a ribbon for a quilt. It's endless. You can also make cups and tumblers. So come on over in fiber arts. It's not just sewing. Yeah, Brian?
You got that material in the polyester instead of cotton, you could have done all that with dye sublimation.
Yeah, I probably could have, but we didn't have that tool then, right? This was 5 years ago. But we did have the silhouette. The silhouettes are the same as a Cricut. They don't take an authorization. We'll run an intro to help you if you don't care to watch all the YouTube videos that are out there, or still would like to have somebody kind of walk with you through that first journey or two. I know I kind of like that myself. But come on over to a class. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to share that didn't get on the list? No? All right. Well, as Sue mentioned, there is a class coming up. It's the only one that still has tickets available, and that's on the 30th. That's the heat press authorization class. Still a few tickets available for that. Other classes are pretty much sold out. On the 24th at 10 a.m., there will be a I Love My Fabric party, and that is a sorting and folding party.
Get to know your fabrics too.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with what you can do with what kind of fabric.
So yeah, come and learn all about different types of fabrics, and that'll be 10 a.m. in the Fiber Art Zone. On the 25th at 4, we have our virtual board meeting. So if you are interested in watching our board meet and discuss, you can do that. We have next Thursday a new members onboarding, and that'll be at 7 p.m. So that's on the 29th. If you are a prospective member or a trial member, or just want to learn more about Knox Makers as an organization, it is required to become a full member. So if you have not attended that, please do, and that'll be next Thursday at 7 p.m. Other announcements. Tracy got this doorstop. Yay! No, we got the new doorstop for this door right here. That one is busted. So if someone would like to volunteer to install this new one, anybody? All right, thank you. We got a volunteer for that. Also, if you see a trash can still have some trash in it, be a good volunteer and take that out. Air filters also need to be changed, so if we can get a team of 2 to take care of those. If you see a filter that is dirty and in need of changing, please do that. With that, no other presentations tonight. Thank you all for coming. We're going to just hang out in the workshop and go make cool stuff. Thanks.